The Swirling Reef of Death. Wow, a dive site never had a more ominous name than that. And here on St. Croix in the US Virgin Islands, the origin story behind the name Swirling Reef of Death is one that gets asked about all the time. It's a story that gets told and retold with many different variations to it. Well, hey guys, my name's Jeff, and today we're going to be talking about the story on how Dan's Reef became known as the Swirling Reef of Death. If you haven't yet subscribed, definitely hit that subscribe button, smash that bell notification so that you never miss a dive. We really appreciate your support. It helps us out immensely. But let's head beneath the waves and dive on the Swirling Reef of Death. The Swirling Reef of Death is a patch reef that is connected to a larger fringing reef. The patch reef is composed of a variety of corals that are isolated within the sandy area. The starting depth of our dive is around 35 feet or 11 meters. But as we move down deeper and explore the section of the fringing reef that runs almost the entire west end of St. Croix, we can get down to an average depth of around 60 feet or 18 meters. It's possible to descend even a little deeper, but the fringing reef gives way to a sandy bottom at around 85 feet or 26 meters. The Swirling Reef of Death was originally known as Dan's Reef. It was named after Dan Lindbergh, or Diver Dan, who had 2 six-pack boats that he used for taking private dive charters out on the reef. Now, Dan loved this site so much, he shared it with everyone, including Mr. Richard Marshall. Now, Richard went on to purchase the recreational side of Crucian Divers and renamed it to Captain Dick's Scuba West. In 1997, Richard, along with Steve Garner, who I'd like to thank for much of the history of this story, were leading a guided dive on Dan's Reef when one of the passengers stated that the name was boring. With a quick-witted response, Richard immediately proclaimed, "Oh, it's the Swirling Reef of Death." Now, that's not quite the end of the story. Although everyone laughed that day and remarked on how awesome a dive it was, the name didn't stick until later. In fact, an entire year had passed, and in 1998, Steve, along with Mark Collison, bought Captain Dick's Scuba West from Richard. During that year, they led numerous dive trips back out to Dan's Reef. But one fateful day, they were leading a dive out there, and Steve was giving the briefing and referred to the site as Dan's Reef. A young man immediately interrupted the dive briefing to correct him and said, "This isn't Dan's Reef. It's the Swirling Reef of Death." As it turned out, the young man that just interrupted the dive briefing was on the same dive the year before when Richard proclaimed it as the Swirling Reef of Death. It's now immortalized on every dive site map and chart by its new name. And we have even designed several shirts inspired by the visions the Swirling Reef of Death conjures up in your mind. You can find our apparel in local dive shops here, and we've got some links below, so make sure to visit them. But guys, if you enjoyed this video, definitely check out another one here at the end. And if you haven't yet subscribed, hit that subscribe button so that you never miss a dive. And we will see you next time underwater.